ESL Pro League is brought to you in part by Logitech G, Pay Safeguard, TheScoreEsports.com, G2A, NVIDIA, and ESEA.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Pro League for North America. My name is Blue. Joining me this evening is Bach, and we're jumping into our next matchup for tonight. It's going to be compLexity taking on NRG, who just came off of 2 losses in a row versus Luminosity. So they're looking a little bit weak, and that could give compLexity a chance to puncture through it. First map should be getting started in just a few moments here on Cash, so let's talk a little bit about it before we get into it. Bach, take us away.
There's a lot to be expected here from NRG. They just had a much more impressive showing in map 2 against Luminosity compared to the beating they took in map number 1. I think it was, 16-4? I want to say 16-5, something like that. I mean, it wasn't even close. They were really slaughtered in map 1, but it was really just the experience and talent on Luminosity shining through. And then you move over to a team like compLexity, who's made some interesting moves, bringing in Def and also pulling in an old face in the CS scene in Fraud. Kind of made a few people laugh when they first heard that Fraud was making a comeback. No disrespect to Fraud, it's just a name that's been around for so long. But I'm kind of curious to see if these roster moves will pan out in the long run for compLexity, if they can use these new players as fresh blood to potentially put them in a position where they could be like a top 5 contender.
And they've been able to joust pretty well this season. Definitely a little bit more on the losing side of things, but it hasn't been an absolute wipe for these guys as of yet. I do think the NRG might have been having a little bit of a better time, but with them just coming off of those 2 losses in a row, and specifically with just how weak overall their T side tended to look here. I mean, it was almost like a day and night difference, specifically on Mirage. The CT side actually started off really well, and then as soon as they switched over in the second half, they dropped the ball completely and never won a single round for 10 rounds straight, and gave Luminosity that huge streak for them to shut it down. And the same thing happened back on Inferno. We might have even seen a closer game had the guys on NRG started off on the CT side there. So if they start off on T side here and we show those same issues, then it could be another rough set here for these guys. But thankfully, at least to start off, we're going to be on a map which is much more even. It's going to be on Cash, so maybe that problem won't be as prevalent.
Yeah, and I mean, the main thing for compLexity right now is they just need to determine whether or not this roster is going to work in the long run. And if it doesn't, they still have the anchors for the squad. I mean, Roka, in my opinion, is one of the best players in North America, and I don't think everyone even really fully realizes it yet. And I don't even think he plays to his full potential all the time. I think that he still has a higher ceiling than he's currently playing at. So compLexity can kind of like take a licking, so to speak, and they can kind of survive towards the bottom. I don't think they'll be fighting off relegation, but I don't think they're going to be in the top 6. So I think they can use this season as an opportunity to sort of figure out what needs to change and then build the team around players like Def, like Roka, and potentially even Shinobi if he works out in the long run for the team. But I'm guessing we're having a server change.
Yeah, we are going to be changing the server once again, so you should have the new information available to you now. But talk more about compLexity once again here while we are waiting for the new Go TV to catch up with us here. Like we said, they've had a couple wins this season, but unfortunately sort of dropped off. And actually, most of their matches were played earlier last month, so it's been quite a bit since we've seen these guys play here in the ESL Pro League. They're coming back now to play today, but they've already faced off against Team Liquid. They traded blows with them there, managed to take a win 16-8 on Cash this map, ironically enough, but unfortunately lost the second one 14-16 in a very much so a closer battle. They've also already played off against LG, and I believe they lost both of those, but then traded blows once again versus the guys on Selfless, putting their current record in the league at 2-4. So not the best, but also not necessarily just bowing down completely to a lot of the other North Americans either. They have shown that they can joust with them a little bit, and we might see that again here tonight versus the guys on NRG.
I mean, across maps recorded right now for NRG, and it's a very short history because the team is still very new. They're 0-2 from what I could find. They lost to Selfless in overtime in CEVO, and then during the MLG Columbus Last Chance pre-qualifier, they lost 16-8 to Optic. Whereas compLexity's had a better time on Cash, and part of that I think is that compLexity has some really strong players individually, and a map like Cache is going to favor that. Cache has been talked about as being like Dust 3, a map where individual talent can kind of pull you through rounds. Yes, execution, strategy, tactical play is very important, but essentially a puggier style can easily steal rounds away on the backs of players like Roko or like Def, or even Sanks, who will show up big sometimes. I'm kind of curious how this is going to play out, because we just don't really have a big sample size for NRG just yet. We haven't seen them play enough to really know what this team is capable of. I think in the long run, NRG will be the stronger team based on their roster, but in this match, it really could go either way.
So let's talk about predictions here for a moment, as we do have everybody in the new server, which means we should be getting started at any moment. But the first map is going to be played here on Cache, and I think the second map is Dust 2, if I'm looking at the schedule correctly. Looks like that's the case. So we've got two of those very puggy style maps. Who do you think is going to be taking them tonight?
I think Cache goes to compLexity 16-11, and I think Dust 2 is going to go at least 28 rounds, and it's going to go either way.
28 rounds, did you say?
I think it's going to go almost to the end.
All right. Well, we are going live now, and we'll see how things go here. As now, we'll be jumping into the knife round to see who takes control. Again, with it being on these more puggy style maps, knife round is not like super duper important, but NRG just gonna dominate it here, absolutely destroying the guys on compLexity. So they'll probably get to start off on the CT side. Would not be completely out of the question though if they wanted to start off on the T side, as we've seen this in the past. Some of these teams may want to start off on a place where they can get some good momentum going for themselves, specifically on that T side. But I don't think we will see that specifically from NRG, given what we just witnessed against Luminosity. May not be the best choice, since their weakest position was over on the T side. And yes, that is the case. They're going to switch it over to CT to start off there.
Really, it's going to come down to who has the stronger T side, because we know both teams can play CT side. The T side requires that synergy and coordination that takes time to build with the roster, and both teams have a pretty fresh roster. So it's really a matter of who's been putting in more time to try and build on that sort of team play, just the little things like pop flashes for each other. The tiny little pieces of executions can easily cause an entire half to go off the rails if it's not quite on point. So really, that's what it's going to boil down to: who between NRG and compLexity has that greater synergy on their T side. The CT side should be pretty much standard from both teams. If you had to predict how this map would play out in the first half, what do you think? Do you think NRG is going to take the lead at half, or do you think it's going to be compLexity?
It really depends on like what kind of individual performance. You were talking about this as well, I believe. It really depends on what kind of individual performances compLexity bring to the table. It's a little hard to call without seeing these guys having played earlier in the evening as of yet, but assuming we see the best from compLexity, I actually think that this half might be a pretty close one. I'm going to say like around 9-6 in the favor of NRG once again.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It really boils down to pistol round too. If compLexity picks up the pistol round, like 9-6 or 8-7, it's probably to be expected. compLexity could even take the lead at half, but I don't think it'll be any more than 8 rounds for them.
So we are trying to get the game started, guys. In case you, what are you doing?
That's a ticking clock.
Okay, that took me a minute to figure that out.
NA sound effects.
Sounded like something else for a second, but there is a small issue with Warden having morphed himself inside of Def. So we are going to need to surgically remove him from Def's body before we can start the game.
Mega Def.
As otherwise, we need to call the doctors, as this is a landmark issue. And look, they're even moving with each other.
This is an interesting strategy here. I'll see if this one pays out. Who needs a coach when you can just have like a 5.5 player?
I think it bugged. I don't think, because he was in the knife round too and he killed himself. I think for whatever reason, I don't think the server put him in the coach slot when the game actually started. So I think they're having problems getting him in there now, which is why we have the delay.
Now, when he sits still, he kind of looks like Two-Face.
He does. Oh my god, he does. It's weird though, because if you move like back and forth on the camera, it changes. Like
he's
changes
like
which one's in front.
A holographic T-side player.
He's a holographic sticker, but a person.
I mean, there really isn't much more to say, hence the BS talk about this dual stack of player inside the T-spawn, just kind of looking at Def and Warden right now morphing together. It's nice to see all these teams coming in with coaches, finally. I feel like that's been something that a lot of teams have been missing. I have a lot of respect for Warden. A long-time CS player. He's performed at various different levels, but spent a long time playing at a pro level. And then on the opposite side, I believe we said it was Ellie, right? He's the one that's coaching for NRG, which is kind of strange because when you look at the lineup, you see Gob B as the in-game leader, and you think, if anything, it would make sense to keep Ellie in the roster and push Gob B to the coach. But really, when you stack the two players up pound for pound, Gob B's the stronger player and the stronger leader. So it's a little bit confusing to have a strong in-game leader and then a coach who has historically accomplished even less. Whereas on the opposite side, I think it's Shinobi who's doing the in-game leading for compLexity, and then you have Warden, who's, this long-standing player in CSGO. I'm kind of just wondering what made them decide to keep him around as the coach on the side of NRG.
It is a bit odd, definitely, when you think about it. As you mentioned, right, it mainly comes down to just the experience. Well, not Gob B. You would reckon he's just going to bring so much more. Like, why do we really need Ely? But, of course, they're still keeping him on. So we would have to figure that out by asking them, actually. That's a bit of a tough question to answer. But compLexity, with them having Warren on the coach slot, that makes a lot more sense with him bringing in his own experience, as you've already mentioned there. So still waiting for that issue to get fixed. I think he just tried to rejoin and it didn't work out. So we're still sitting with that problem. As soon as it is resolved, guys, we will be getting started with the match. But a lot of energy in terms of how well, like, they definitely have, when it comes to, I think, like, the knowledge game and the strategical game, they definitely have the advantage in this matchup, just because they have Gob B, and he's bringing in a much larger strat book from Europe, of course. But the individual performances, I would say it leans slightly in the favor of compLexity, but by a very small margin. And a lot of it does weigh in on how some of the bigger fraggers from NRG actually do come to party here as well. Players like Petermon, and actually, some people may think this may sound a bit odd, but Legia has actually been quite a proficient fragger as well for this NRG roster ever since he joined it. Quite a few of the matches he's been the stat leader for this team. So if he doesn't come to play strong as well, then that could be another problem for him. But I think we just fixed the coach issue, as Warden is now in his proper slot. So things should be getting started at any moment, guys.
All right, we're finally get to watch these teams actually play the map. No more pregame. We can talk all day about the coaches and the rosters, but really it does boil down to pound for pound, how do these teams stack up against each other? And like you said, Legia, Gob B, Justin Silent, they're PTR, they're all proficient players. Peter had a really hot map in the second map there on Mirage when he was able to control the op a little bit longer. You could kind of blame that on the money on the first map against Luminosity on Inferno. They never really had any cash, so he could never really get the op. And when he did get it, he was losing it very quickly because Luminosity was playing hyper aggressive. So he never really got a chance to catch fire. I think he could be a serious problem here for compLexity. I'm not sure who's picking up the op on their side these days. Obviously, historically speaking, it would be Fraud, but I don't know if he's opping in Go. A lot of players who didn't play 1.6, they're the ones who seem to grab the op a little bit better and Go, but players who are historic, they've been around a long time, they have a hard time adapting to the way the op plays in Go, so I'm not sure if he's the one that's been kind of carrying that load. Do you know?
This is for NRG? Or?
For compLexity, I'm not sure if Fraud has been picking up the op. It's like, my mind wants to say that he would because it's Fraud and that's what he always did, but I don't know if he ever really adapted to Go.
It seems like it's pretty loose, actually, when it comes to compLexity, because it's actually, like, more times than not, we see him picking up the rifle quite a bit, so I wouldn't necessarily say that he's, like, 100% solidified as it, but they are definitely trying him out with it here and there, so I don't think it's a decision that they've 100% made to make him, or rather to put him on that role as of yet, but they are definitely trying it whenever they're in a confident situation where they can sort of experiment with it.
It is very refreshing, too, that both these teams have managed to find players that haven't already played in North American Pro League to come in and fill out the roster. Obviously, NRG went a little bit further to find those players, being that Gob B and Leggy are both from Europe.
Yeah, I think, like, out of all the changes, out of all the changes that we saw with the season transition happening after the second season of Pro League and all the NA rosters changing up, this one was probably the most surprising because it was just such a weird switch to have Gob B and Legia, two Europeans, joining up with a team that really had not done anything super impressive in North America as of yet, which was the previous Methods squad if you didn't keep up with it in that period between December and up to now. So it was probably, for me, that was one of the strangest changes I did see, but it's actually not for the worst. It seems to actually put a pretty confident team together that if these guys stick around for a while, I definitely think they can make some good progress as a full 5-man unit. But it looks like we're finally getting started, guys, so let us start the match.
All right, so we'll see what compLexity is going to do on their T side. Looks like it's going to be a full board B rush right now with Sanks leading the charge, knife out. There's only one man playing towards B. It's a B retake, which is a rare strategy to see put into place. Gabi is looking for headshots, finally gets one. Now trying to spot some shots through the smoke. Not going to happen, so the bomb is going to go down here with Def trying to lock down vents as both players mid are making some noise. But the bomb plant does occur here, so it's going to be on NRG to come in on the retake. Two players still coming in from mid, trying to peek towards vents, and just waiting for the rest of the team to fall into position.
Now, the guys on NRG moving into the site pretty quickly, but they've also given compLexity a lot of room to get to their post plants as well. So the drop comes in from vents on the CTs. Some good damage into Shinobi, but Def and Sanks pick up the first 2 kills here. Silent responds with his own pickup, as do Peter and Gabi, so they're striking right back. And Gabi finds the final pickup there. 3 kills for him on the pistol round, and an all-in retake happens from NRG. They get back control of that B bomb site, and with the get in hand of Gabi, they're going to be able to grab the bomb defuse and pick up the first round.
I don't know if that was counter-stratting or not, because you don't really see teams do a B retake strategy on pistol round. It's very common to see them do an A retake, send 3 players through B main, go for the push, try and find something, play one towards mid just for, jiggle peeking from Z Connector to see if they try to make their way out. But it did work out, and it was really on the back of Gabi. He gets that first headshot, gets the information that they're coming B. The team rotates into position. Once the smokes and flashes are gone, it's pretty much an easy-peasy retake for NRG. So now they're going to be playing a little bit more timidly towards the A side here with Justin all the way back towards truck in mid. We've got Silent, both players holding the ump, and it does look like it's going to be a dedicated A strategy right now as they line up for the smokes and flashes, but they still could rotate out. I mean, they have the bomb towards the back of A main. They could decide they want to go towards mid, and it looks like that's what they're going to do. Interestingly enough, they boost the bomb up, and if they were to drop it here, it would be terrible, but it's actually going to be Def to get that opener in mid. And now they have full control of the map here, picking off another one in PTR. They're going to find one player on the team going down, Silent with the UMP. But another B bomb plan coming in here after what looked like it was going to be an A take.
Roka getting a nice tap actually on Justin and bringing down to 13 HP. That'll hold the CTs back by quite a bit, despite the fact that they're only having these P250s right now to try and hold them back. Literally 0 utility now on this T side. So there's nothing that would hold NRG back just besides the pure firepower coming in from those pistols, but it is enough. NRG so scared right now to get themselves back into this site. They're finally going to push for it. Justin hanging back a little bit here because of his low HP, but now going to push in, able to finish off Def. Roka follows suit. Now it's down to just Fraud and Sanks, but they're both off the site, and it's not going to stop them from fragging those. Silent picks up another kill on a Sanks, and now Fraud just trying to hang on for dear life, but in just a moment here, he is going to be wrapped around, and Silent leaps out the doorway, finishes off Fraud, and NRG grabbed the defuse there. So a little bit messy, but they're still able to grab that second round for themselves, and not too many losses either. Only going to drop 2 of their players, and of course they still keep most of the big guns in check.
Here comes that change of pace, though, that third round buy, which has basically become the new meta for CSGO. If you get the first bomb plant, save in the second, hopefully you get a second one. And because they got the second one, they're going to go with the glass cannon on Def. The CT side lost a few bodies, so they're going to be feeling a little bit weaker here with the ump in place still. FAMAS on Silent as well. They do have an op. It's going to be on Peter. He's going to be working over towards Checkers, though. He's not going to be in position to take a fight with the opper. That's Def, who is, I believe, boosted up mid. Yeah, he's on the boost right now, spotting towards White Box. The rest of the team kind of piling in towards A main and Squeaky Door. And they do have that infamous boost in the corner right now. Justin all the way up in the corner, the Shroost. And he's just waiting to see if they come out. He could be in a really punishing position, but his lack of a really proper weapon could actually backfire horribly here.
Now Def pushing up. Just casually grabs the first shot on the Gabi. Just going to lay down for Def there. And he might be able to find a second one too if Legia gets too aggressive, peeking out from the white box angle. But thankfully for him, Def's going to reposition, and he's not really moving out from there anyway. So now the CTs, they'd actually gotten a pretty good read on the situation. A little heavy on the defense over here towards Highway, and they're actually going to move away from it, which could end up badly for them. But take a look at Shinobi's position right now. Sneak and pass is going to find the angle against Legia to take him down. And now paying attention to Highway, Silent is going to be given a trade. Now the take begins, though, as they push themselves into the A site. Justin up with the Shroud spot, only grabs a 1-for-1. Silent's still here, though, and he's sneaking around. There's no coverage on the site, so Silent grabs one pickup and then finds the second one by eliminating Sanks. It's all on Def now, and he's got an up and no armor. So this is going to be an absolutely super hard clutch to try and pull off here. As he pushes forward, he is being wrapped at this point by Silent. So if he makes his way through that smoke, he can find him, but Silent's playing it back a little bit more passively. I think they're just going to wait for Def to come into their waiting arms.
Oh, Def is actually going to push through the smoke, catches Silent snoozing a little bit, and now a flash might give him the opportunity to plant the bomb here. It's going to come down to a 1v1. Peter's going to try and get in position with the op. He's going to be waiting for the cross shot, and there you go. Even though he gets the bomb plant, he's not able to clutch it out. So a lot of money spent from complexity only gets them a bomb plant. That's 3 in a row, though. So there's something to be said about the fact that they are consistently getting onto the bomb site, even with pistols. But they spent a lot of money that round. Taking just as much away from the CT side means we're likely to see a force. And here you can see the AKs coming out for Roka and company over on complexity. This could be their opportunity to really stick it in the back of NRG right now. NRG's spending so much to rebuy all those guns they just lost. The only player who saved was Peter with the op. So they're in a pretty difficult spot right now. If they lose this, complexity could potentially force double eco.
Now complexity, unfortunately, because of how much buying they were doing on those first 3 rounds there, they are going to be limited in what kind of utility they can bring. They downgraded Roka initially, but he did trade out for a gun, of course, because he's that really big fragger, but this time he's only going to find a 1-for-1 trade. Peter, quick on the response after his teammate falls, and now the take's going to begin. The guy's like, just going right forward, and Legia has no clue that he just walks right into the site. Shinobi picks up 2 kills back-to-back, found Justin up in heaven as well. Silent taking a bit of a duel with Sanks. He's going to be able to find him, but Peter is trapped in checkers right now, and he's got no way outside of it. They're in position already for a retake here, but Silent's been heavily lit. He's down to 15 HP, trying to find a way outside of checkers, but now he's going to get volleyed and pushed back even more. complexity have a solid hold on this, and it's all coming off the hands of Shinobi's great entries.
And there really isn't much of a way for them to try and save these guns. They're in such an awkward spot, they kind of have to go for this, or either just boost one player out through the vents, which is unlikely to even occur. There comes the push from Silent, but a 2-for-1 right now as it's come down to just one player on each side. And even though complexity pick it up, each team is spending so much money in all of these rounds, losing almost everyone on their roster. But it is going to be NRG who fall prey to a B take from complexity. Complexity is going to go back into a buy round here. It's a force up from NRG, knowing how much money complexity's been spending in these rounds and how draining it's been on their team's economy. They're trying to counteract what just happened to them. Both teams really fighting for economic control right now. It feels like complexity has at least a stronger hold on the map. It's just a matter of those post-plant positions going their way a little bit better.
But now NRG, of course, just with that one loss, immediately put onto a bit of a force up for these guys. Only one rifle still in play on Peter, but the rest are just working with their pistols now. Trying to be much more mobile this time as well, but it's mainly going to fall to Justin to try and defend things here on the A bomb site, as a lot of the other NRG players have rotated off. Justin spots that early push, trying to work its way outside of Squeaky, but now it's the fall back, jumping around, and the pop flash to follow it up. It only connects on one player, and he does leave himself a bit overexposed, but Silent's going to be able to catch a trade. Takes down Roka, and Godby moving back in there. He's going to fall without finding anything. Shinobi and Sags picking up 2 kills, but so did the CT, so they're still in this, and with Peter finding another blow there, he is going to push up. He's got Def stuck in a corner, but Sags wrapping out there. Finds another pickup, but again, brought down to a 1 versus 1. Legia trying to find that no-scope, can't connect it, misses the second one as well as he tries to quick-scope it. Sex has left the site, but he's also left the bomb on the floor too. So Legia should be able to work this, playing a pass, but there's a good pop flash from Sanks. That's now going to force Legia back, and he's completely missed. I think that Sanks is rolling it. Nope, he just caught him there on the forklift, and Legia is going to close things out. NRG bounce right back and find their 4th round.
I thought for a second there that Sanks was going to win that because Legia had no head armor and Sanks had an ump. So it's actually a pretty manageable situation if he gets the headshot. He just couldn't get the recoil under control on the ump. And it really is interesting to watch these teams just like continue to force buy back and forth. I've mentioned before that sometimes you have, I've used boxing as the analogy. You have, in boxing, you have like lightweight and featherweight, and these guys are very technical with the way they box. And then you just have heavyweight, where it's basically the 2 biggest guys they could find, and they just pound each other into oblivion. And sometimes you end up with a match like that, and that's what this has started out as. 2 teams just beating each other, trying to find the weakness, but there really isn't one. They're just trying to beat the other one into submission. So far, it's been NRG coming out on top of the rounds, but complexity still right in this game because of the way the money has been balancing in each direction. A good opener there by Shinobi getting into the B site. Gob B is going to go down. And now the bomb likely to be planted in just a minute here. Silent trying to do what he can coming in from vents. And Legia also complementing that grenade nicely to spot Dev. Shinobi goes down. And now it's just a 2v4. And they get slaughtered on the retake by Justin. Huge work with the ump.
Justin did not give a crap. Just jumped down and went for the rush on both of those complexity players before they could get into their post plants. Works out great. NRG suffered minimal losses in that round, only losing Gob B on the B site. And now they're going to pick up a 5th round here. And for complexity, won't be able to bring too much to the table this time around. Just going to see a couple upgraded pistols, maybe see like a wild armor investment or 2 on some of these guys. But I think they're going to want to focus on that gun round because they're still rebuilding their losing bonus right now. So they're not necessarily going to have the most money in the world.
This is the first full save we've seen since round 2. Every team has been force buying back and forth. They saved up in round 2, got the bomb plant, went to AKs in the 3rd round, forced in the 4th, forced in the 5th from NRG, and then a force in the 6th from compLexity. I mean, they're just back and forth with these force buys. But compLexity now, they're finally realizing they can't sustain this forever, even though they're on the T side, which is a lot easier to manage the force buy situation. They need to just stop, slow down, try to get a few rounds here, try to get a bomb plant, and use that to build some money moving forward. They're getting picked apart right now by NRG as they try to get this bomb into the site. They're finally going to get into position. The molly just off the mark from Legia. So at least they get the bomb plant, a little bit of extra money in their pockets, and a great shot from Gob B, or from Fraud onto Gob B. At least found him an ump, but it is the round going the way of NRG.
Look at how much the Silent is, I mean, I hesitate to say carrying, but just look at how much he's leading the frag totals right now for NRG. Absolutely crucial in shutting down some of these rounds. 16-4 right now. And the next player behind him is Peter at 6-3. Let's not forget Legio too, definitely having a very big impact on some of these rounds, despite him only having a minimal amount of kills, but it's definitely Silent doing most of the heavy lifting, as it were, right now. But compLexity able to get another buy round going for themselves, so maybe with another chance to strike back here.
And what was it, round 3 when compLexity went into the buy? Silent had a 3K with the FAMAS. We were talking about how the buy was really weak for the CT side. He basically won the round for the team. He ended up dying quad when there was Def walking around armorless through the smoke. So it could have been a 4K, but even still, he basically single-handedly put NRG into that round because compLexity looked poised to take it if it weren't for him. Coming in with a boost in mid is going to be Def, who's picking up the AWP. He goes for the boost spot, shot onto White Box. Both players reel back. They're going to double nade the spot as well. Def still holding, and he's going to get jiggle peek from Vents. He's got to be careful. He's very vulnerable in this position. Still holding, though, on the roof. Smokes and flashes pouring out. He's got to be careful. Eventually, he retreats back to the boost box, but does take a nade down to 58 HP. And he still hasn't been able to spot a single CT side player. Not even an ounce of damage done to these players in mid.
Now the guys from compLexity still just taking their time about this one. They've slowed it down immensely. Just trying to slowly work their way towards one of the sites. Gob getting some good damage on initially. He brings Roka down to 4 HP, but Roka and Def are able to strike back and just take down 2 of the members of NRG. Now, compLexity is going to go for a straightforward execute over here, but good pop flash from Silent, and there's that heavy lifting that we were talking about. Just shuts down Fraud and Def. Finds a third one on the Shinobis. He's forced outside of Squeaky. Now the final 2 here trying to do some work, but Justin's coming in to assist. He takes down Sankt, and it's only Roka left alive with 4 HP. He's fishing for something, but he can't find anything. Justin's going to push him. That's a bit of a mistake. But Peter will close it out before it goes anywhere else. And NRG now find a 7th round, and they continue to lead dominantly here. With compLexity still only having 1 round on the board. So again, an okay amount of money right now. Would not be the worst decision in the world to try and force it up because they're so far behind, but more than likely, we're just going to see another upgraded pistol round.
If you were to tell me before this game that a player would be sitting at 19 kills moving into round 9, I'd be like, wow, Roka's having a great game. I would not have picked Silent. In fact, to be honest, no offense to Silent, but I don't think he would have even been of the top 3 players I would have considered to be in this position. While he's very capable AWPer and a great player, he's just not typically the man that leads the charge with the fragging count. He is putting on a clinic right now with this AWP. And again, starting out the round nicely with these AWPs, Peter and Silent just picking compLexity apart. No answer to the AWPs yet from compLexity.
Silent, good trigger discipline initially, but Fraud does manage to force him to miss a shot, and he gets digs as well. Down to 17 HP, but that's not going to stop him from finding kills. Finds Fraud and Def, finally Sanks kills him. However, now it's just Sanks, rolls out, finds 1 and 2 kills on Legia and Justin, looking for the 3rd. Oh, but thankfully the chaos ends with Peter finding the AWP shot. But still, considering where the round ended up at that point, Sanks should not have gotten that many kills. Some good damage done to the CTs at the very least.
I mean, it was almost like they wanted to lose the round. Like, Silent's like, guys, I'm gonna carry us to a victory. And like, no, you're not. We're just gonna stand out with our knives out and let this guy kill us with a pistol. I didn't see it happen, but it was lightning fast. 3 kills came in so quickly there. But either way, NRG, I mean, economic control is in their favor, excuse me. compLexity still hasn't been able to pick up a round since round number 4, which was actually an eco round. And they're trying to find the weakness right now. They haven't been able to exploit either bomb site. They look like they're gonna go for the kind of standard smoke take on A. Justin sitting on top of red box, spots him coming in. He's going to call for the rotate. The first one to go down is actually Silent, the hot-handed player, but he takes Roka out with the molly as a response. So the stereotypical top fragger for compLexity off to a rough start here, sitting at 5 and 10. Not exactly Roka-like performance.
Now Gob B pushing out, manages to find Sanks, falling back very quickly after that. Legia on the flank, takes down Fraud, but he's only going to grab that one. Shinobi very quickly trades it out. NRG now up a man because of these plays, however. And Shinobi and Def trying to work a miracle here. Shinobi does manage to find Peter and takes him down, but stays out in the open for too long, so Justin's going to punish him for that. Def's now the last man alive inside of Squeaky. He doesn't really seem to have a confident way out of here. Molly goes down, it's going to force him out of cover, but Gobi wins the duel anyway. And NRG just continue to dominate things here on their CT side.
They haven't been the most one-sided rounds, but it doesn't matter. NRG's been winning with, these 2v1s and these 1v3s and all these situations. They've been winning all of the close scenarios. They've only allowed the bomb to get planted 5 times in the first 10 rounds, which is actually pretty good. I don't remember if compLexity planted the bomb in round 4 when they won. I believe they did. It was the B plant when they won. So yes, they did. But it's been a very kind of shaky performance from NRG. 1 or 2 players don't pick up a frag, and it could have been a round for compLexity. So even though it says 9-1, compLexity isn't really out of this that badly. They just haven't been able to take these duels, and it's really been silent, surprisingly picking them apart. Peter coming in with his op from time to time. The rest of the team is just kind of sitting back watching the show. They really haven't had to do too much. Sanks walking right out of A main as the smoke fades, gets caught by Silent, and there you go. Silent continues with a great headshot, jumping up on the E-box, peeking over the forklift, and another great start to the round for NRG.
compLexity going to try to make a push over towards the B bomb site. A couple trades happening, but the only kill that the T's managed to find happened towards middle here. Now GobB going to wrap in, finds the bomb, and a death on Shinobi. Def, again, will be the last player alive here for compLexity, and Justin will finish off a final duel with him. It's not just the fact that, Silent is absolutely kicking the ass out of every single player on compLexity, but also when it comes down to it, most of these 1 versus 1s that other players in NRG are put into, they're also winning them fairly consistently. I think everybody except for GobB has to have a positive record when it comes to their 1 versus 1s right now. So NRG are also just winning in that front most of these times. So compLexity cannot find themselves into the site most of the time, let alone finishing things off when they get down to the post plant.
Well, I mean, look at the fact that GobB has had 4 kills since the pistol round. GobB had a 3K on the pistol. That's what secured the victory for NRG. He's had 4 in the last, 9-10 rounds since the pistol round. I mean, he's been doing what he can, but the reality is he doesn't need to do anything. You can look at the numbers and you could just say, wow, Leggy is really underperforming. No, there's just nothing left. Silent and Peter are stealing all of the kills. There's no way for them to perform. They don't even need to do anything. They can just kind of sit back, and compLexity just has no solution. They have not been able to stop Silent, who is just on a tear, and then when he's not there, it's Peter who's cleaning up the frags.
So now compLexity are going to move in. They do actually get some good damage initially, but not counting on Silent to be hiding behind Highway. They'd only spotted Peter previously to that. He's going to be able to take down Roka. GobB finding another pickup here as he's actually getting a bit crafty, pushing out. He hasn't taken any damage at all. He's going to find 2 kills. Looking for a third. Def just hanging out in the corner. There's another one for GobB. Now we can fall back into the site. He's going to pick up another one. Just shuts down Fraud. And there's a 4K for GobB.
I think he only had 2 bullets left at that point, and the last bullet hits the head. That was a great play from GobB. The first kill, they kind of danced with each other in the smoke. They were just staring at one another, but slightly flashed. They couldn't see each other. GobB recovered quicker and ended up getting the kill, and it was just a matter of him just getting a great position. I'm not sure if the flash came from compLexity or NRG. I didn't see it fly in, but either way, it benefited him massively as he was able to get the player who was sitting right on the other side of that smoke, just on the cusp. And it is another round for NRG, and a large part of the reason is individual play. I mean, that round it was GobB who picks up a 4K. The round prior, it's somebody else. I mean, it seems like every round, compLexity tries to get into a site, and it's one player who just single-handedly shuts them down.
Shinobi, unfortunately, is going to get hit by a nade, and then it's finished off by Legia. Good timing on the nade there, and it's just, you can just tell it's just completely decimated compLexity. Roka and Fraud have also been hit very heavily. Roka specifically is down at 12 HP now. Now they're going to attempt to get themselves here onto the A bomb site as a last-ditch attempt, but Justin has also actually been a pretty prominent player here as well. That's what I'm saying, is everybody on this team has been on point. Is going to be up in the Shroud spot. 2 kills, nicely done, easy for him. He's flashed, he's sitting right in front of Squeaky, but as he walks in, unfortunately, he's going to end up giving his life away, but he almost managed to find that kill if he had just noticed he was to the left. Sanks finds one more before being taken down by Legia, and that's going to close things out once more as NRG now lead by a huge margin here against compLexity, 12-1, and we'll be heading into another bye round for compLexity.
And what's interesting really is that compLexity isn't making a lot of mistakes. They're just not winning duels. Like if I'm on compLexity and I'm looking for what's wrong right now, I'm not really finding a whole lot except for the fact that we're not winning. We're just not beating them in the 1v1 aim duels, and we're not following it up properly with the trade. So we get ourselves in a situation where we take a duel, we lose it, there's no one there to refrag consistently. And when they do peak, it's a 2K, a 3K, a 4K. These rounds just pile on the board for NRG. They're up now 12-1. They can easily just let off the gas at this point and still close this game out with a sizable lead. This is not what I expected at all. I didn't think that NRG was going to come in and dominate this heavily. I thought that they might have the lead at half, but to be up at 12 rounds already is a ridiculously impressive performance.
GobB, he just screwed up so badly. He was sitting in checkers. He had a molly thrown at his feet. He tried to throw his smoke on the floor to cover it, but he swapped his weapon too soon, and that killed him. So compLexity is going to get a little bit lucky here off of that. And we'll find a man advantage early round. Not only this, but NRG have hard rotated off the A bomb site. They're playing this for a retake now, and compLexity is basically going to walk in here for free. There's some resistance coming in, but the smoke coverage is good enough where they should actually be able to get the bomb down without too much conflict.
So a situation here, a little bit of an opportunity arises for compLexity as they be very difficult to survive this one. 14-1. I don't think anyone would have seen this one coming.
Absolutely not. And of course, let's again review the monster stats right now that Silent himself is sitting on. He's currently sitting at 29-8, and his ADR is at 170.7, or apologies, 169.7 right now. So he's basically sitting at 1.7 kills per round. Or apologies, no, his frags per round is at 1.9. I forgot we tracked that as well.
Yeah, I
So
mean, his
he's
FPR is almost 2.
He's basically got 2 kills a round right now.
That's ridiculous. I don't, you know, I haven't seen a performance individually like a player from that in one half in a long time. I've seen players drop 29 somewhat casually in a long match that goes deep, like 30 rounds, but never in a half, and never would I have imagined it would be Silent if you picked out anyone from this game. And, you know, no disrespect to Sam, he's a great guy, but he's usually more of a middle of the pack support player, not typically the guy to, you know, take that top frag role. It's a 3-man stack over towards the A site. Looks like they're playing a similar strategy to what NRG played in the pistol round, going for the B retake, except Sanks is playing in the site. So if they go for the take here, it could be quite difficult, and it looks like they're stacking up in that direction. Fraud trying to support from up top. He's putting shots out, but Silent, again, surprise, surprise, he's the one to find the opener, and they're just going to get into the site with ease here, completely picking apart compLexity. It's just Roka left in a 1v4.
It's Peter that goes off in this round, of course, shutting it down. It's all on Roka. Gets 1 and 2 back-to-back. That's a 180 shot on the second one to take down Peter, but he's still got 2 more players to work against here. He's got armor, but 39 HP. Peeking out, almost kills Justin. Brings him down to 32 HP. He's looking for Gabi up on the site, finishing off Justin. And now Roka looking for the monster play of his life, the comeback of his life on this pistol round. Has the 4K. He's going to close it out, and he's still got plenty of time to defuse that bomb. A monster play from Roka is going to keep compLexity in this game for at least a little bit longer.
That's the Roka we expected to see throughout the first half. I mean, that pushes him to 11 kills. He had a 4K there. That kind of shows you how he struggled throughout the first half. And, Jesus, Danny is nuts. He's a great player. You know, Roka is one of those guys that, like, I watch him play, and sometimes I see him make these plays, and I'm like, how does that even happen? And I don't think people really can respect how good he is, and that is a perfect example. The question is not now whether or not he can sustain that, and whether compLexity can continue to rely on that style of play. Like, sure, NRG relied on 1 or 2 players to carry them through round after round on their CT side, but they weren't already down 14-1. So it's a little bit different here for compLexity. They need everyone to be chiming in.
But now on NRG, though, with basically no pressure on them as of yet. Still a 12-round cushion to work with. They are going to take this second round pretty light, despite getting the plant. Going to be saving up for that third gun round. And they're trying to line up a pretty big hit here onto the A-bomb site to see if they can get themselves a little bit of extra cash for that third round. Smokes are set up now. They can try to go for a push outside, but they're still a little bit hesitant about it. Also, there was a good nade that was tossed inside of A main, as you noticed there, too. It's brought God B down pretty low at 8 HP. Shinobi, though, dominating the playing field on this round. Sanks comes in to say hello with at least 1 kill, but it's going to be Shinobi that finds the 4 from the forklift angle. Pretty much shuts down the entire attempt at a push. But nonetheless, we may end up seeing the buy here from NRG. They may actually shy away from it, though, when you consider that triple save they did versus Luminosity, and that appears to be the case. They're not going to invest this time. They are going to go for the save instead.
I like the discipline, and look at what they've done to the CT side. They forced them into that thought, like, they're going to buy AKs here. We need to buy up our rifles, so they're not going to be able to use the SMGs to build up their money a little bit more. Plus, there's no reason to really go crazy. They're up 14-3. They can relax a little bit. They don't have to go into these, like, force buys so early on. There's nothing really needed from them this early on in the half. They only need 2 more rounds to close things out. Sure, a comeback could happen. I've seen 14-1s happen with a comeback that takes it to OT, but it would be one of the more impressive ones that I've ever seen on Cash after what was basically an abysmal T-side from compLexity. Moving over to the CT side, though, they have managed to pick up the pistol round, and if they can bring this one down, they'll be 10 rounds down below NRG.
Peter looking for an early shot over here on a def, and Sanks doing quite a bit of work here, too. Already shutting out Gabi and Lagia, sitting at the quad angle. Peter does find a response as he takes down Def, taking that duel a little bit earlier. But Justin is going to get shut down by Fraud as he attempts to push forward and gets himself a push on the highway. Same story here on the B side with Roka dispatching of Silent. Now Peter's going to be the last man alive, only with a deagle, no armor sitting behind it, 70 HP. Does have the bomb, So if he can try and take down Sanks, he might be able to sneak a plant, but more than likely, this should be handled by Sanks quite nicely. Now keep in mind, this is another thing that actually could get in the way of NRG quite a bit to try and stack up those final 2 rounds, is that we've seen it in the past on this map. Roka is an absolute god when it comes to playing a B site defense. Even when he's on his own, when he doesn't have support from Heaven or anywhere else on the bomb site, he's pulled off some miraculous holds. So if NRG are even going to be a little bit sluggish with their takes towards B, then that could become problematic for them actually closing out this match.
So it comes down to this here, a buy coming in from NRG, and a really good one at that. Saving in that round made perfect sense. They're able to get the off here. Molly on boost is going to delay Peter's plans here. Oh, that shot was just off. If he corrects his crosshair here, they could easily get a great start. And there you go. He hits Shinobi through the box, and I think he followed it up with a shot onto Def. I don't know if that was a grenade that hit Def, but I believe he hit both players. And now they're going to backpedal. They wanted to go for this boost over. Now they can't afford to. Def is down to 35, and he's in a really aggressive position in mid. It's really hard for him to fall out of this one. He has to run all the way back to sandbags just before the smoke fades. So the CT side went for a risky play, hoping to get the boost up, but those shots from Peter basically push them back and give NRG a little bit of wiggle room here. But with a minute and 5 seconds left, they really haven't decided where they want to go yet. They really wanted to use that op to open things up in mid.
But now NRG still just taking their time with this. They are starting to push forward a little bit on mid. Lagia's moved himself up to the cubby, and there's a molly that's thrown out. Def got burn alive to that one. Some assistance coming in from Lagia. Shinobi does find a trade for it, though, by shutting down Gob B, so it's still not necessarily an open playing field for NRG to move on to a site take as of yet, but they're losing time very quickly, down to 40 seconds now. And the guys on compLexity actually are going to be able to get a read on this one. They're moving Fraud over off the B-bomb site preemptively, still keeping Roka here, of course, in case they've read it incorrectly. But they've got the majority of their players in the correct position. And also, if Fraud peaks at the right time again, he might be able to shut down Lagia, and he's going to do just that. Takes him down. Now there's 0 mid pressure, and the final 3 on NRG are going to try to make a push only from the A angles. Good opening shot from Silent, takes down Shinobi, but Sanks responds. Again, this quad angle, he's good at holding this as well. Takes down Justin, and they're basically running out of time here on the T side. They just have to go for it. Silent's going to try to make a push, but Sanks isn't giving him anything. He just shuts him down. Peter's the last man alive, but there's no way he's pulling this off. He's going to retreat to try and save the op.
It's a big play from Sanks there. Jiggle peeking back towards quad box. Basically keeping Silent in a position where every time he tries to shoot, he risks the possibility of a re-peek from Sanks. So Silent just tries to get in the site like you'd expect him to do, but it's compLexity who have now picked up the first 4. And since Peter has the op, they're going to force up a little bit around it. Pistol armor, plus they had plenty of money here. I mean, 4 rounds of loss bonus, plus all those bomb plants, or at least the 1 bomb plant, I apologize. So, I mean, they have some money stacked up here. They're going to be able to use that to try and dent the cash that's been building up on compLexity. But really, it's been compLexity now doing what NRG did to them in the first half. They're not necessarily relying on raw team play. It's just like this one player each round is stepping up big for their team. 2 or 3 kills apiece. I mean, look at the pistol round. It was Roka with a 4K in a situation that he likely should not have come out on top of. And if that continues, we actually might see a bit of a comeback.
Peter with a good opening shot there to take down Def by the white box angle. They do give themselves a bit of an advantage, but keep in mind, they're working on a force buy here, so you're only looking at a couple upgraded pistols on 3 out of 5 of the players. Silent's got the only other AK in the mix right now, and he's holding back away from the actual push. He's sitting over here inside of the sunroom, waiting to see if anybody's going to push him from the B-bomb site, and that they can get a little bit more of an advantage there. But Peter, sitting back and waiting, nice lineup on a Fraud. He gets a little bit over-aggressive that time with his push out from Z. It's been successful in the past 2 rounds, but this time, not going to be the case. He's shut up by Peter. He's up to 2 kills now, and Shinobi's even going to get legged when he tries to cross highway to get some intel. So NRG, just by playing things super slowly, are off to a great start here.
And it really just comes down to 1 round. They get 1 round, they're at least guaranteed overtime, and they can breathe that collective sigh of relief. I mean, they know that they're in the driver's seat right now. They have a massive lead, but there's always that possibility that compLexity could creep right back into it. Speaking of creep, it's going to be Peter creeping up mid, finds the shot onto one of the players in the A site, and now it's Roka and Shinobi left wondering, are we supposed to go for this in this situation? We don't want to give them round 15, but we don't have any money to work with.
They don't have a choice.
Yeah.
They've also picked up a second op here now as well. Roka is going to catch Silent, so at least they have that, dropping one of the guns, but it's basically a trade, essentially, with them having recovered another one off of one of the corpses from the CTs. So basically the same arsenal that NRG is still working with, minus the included op that they've picked up now. And McGee is actually going to move in and try and take down Roka. They do not want to let these guns be carried over into the next round. They want to break it now, as the money from compLexity is at a point to where the force buy is going to be fairly lax if they can take down both of these guns. But Roka, good lineup, although very bad execution. not able to pick up the headshot on the Justin, and now they know where he is, so they're going to move out hunting. Shinobi's going to try to support, but he's in an even worse position. Thankfully, he doesn't reveal himself, so Justin takes down Roka, but Shinobi finds a trade to shut out Gob B. That was the pistol, though, so it's not the biggest loss in the world, but nonetheless, compLexity will keep one of these rifles in play, and that adds quite a bit of power to this buy coming up in this round.
Roka really needed to survive there, though. You can see the amount of money he's at. He would have been able to drop one and potentially even buy two. I mean, it would have been light, but he has 7K at the end of the round, so he had a lot. If Roka survives there, it changes the buy drastically. They're still going to be able to get a buy in here, but it's going to be a little bit weaker. They've got body armor off on Def, and Sanks going for the double op approach, kind of feeling a little bit of desperation in that one. The rest of the team on M4's one kit, a lot of utility on Roka, but they're already down a man as Shinobi drops in mid to who else other than Silent. He's been putting on quite the show here, and he's continuing on to his T side. Not as dominant a performance there, but a 1-for-1 trade is going to favor the T side right now as they look to head towards the A site. It seems to be where compLexity is stacking up, so this could actually backfire for NRG.
Fraud has no problem at all rolling the dice with that VP. He moves out again, and this time he finds a kill with it. Now Def doing some work. I don't know what Peter just tried to do, but he flipped around. He got absolutely wrecked by the players here on the A-bomb site. So it's all done to Justin. He's managed to get himself to quad. The problem is, though, is he's got no bomb control. The CTs have full control of that, and also he's got no utility to try and flash himself out of here. So Def is going to find the final pickup, and compLexity do respond. Put themselves up to 6 rounds now. However, from this point forward, it's got to be perfect. However, as well, with them finding that round, they will reset energy and force at least one more eco here.
Yeah, I mean, they have to win 9 rounds in a row. And can they do that? Can they sustain that kind of performance? Their first half was very rocky and rough. They were just getting picked apart by Peter, by Silent. Even Gob B had a few rounds. The pistol round was a 3K for him. I think he had a 4K and a rifle round as well. So right now, NRG, they've kind of gotten a little more relaxed on their T side. They haven't necessarily kept up the performance that they had in the first half, but really, we kind of said that both these teams would play a little bit stronger on their CT side, given that they're younger rosters. We expect to see the raw fragging performance translate better to the CT side than the T side. But compLexity has their backs against the wall here. It's going to be a forced buy of sorts towards the A site. Smokes and flashes raining out. 2 players with Tech 9 armor, the rest on pistols. compLexity really wanting to get the bomb plan here.
Now, NRG moving up onto the site. Going for the take now, and they're basically just going to try to mow their way through this. Shinobi finding a trade after Silent found the kill on a fraud. Orca managed to take down Peter, but Shinobi actually with a great hold. Managed to find multiple kills before going down, but nonetheless it's brought into a 2 versus 2 scenario. The bomb's kind of out in the open, so it's going to be a bit risky for Justin to retrieve it, but he moves out. He almost manages to find Roka as he was out in the open, but the shot is not going to connect, and now Justin burning alive down at 30 HP. Can't really keep himself fully covered. He's lost a lot of HP from that. Another Molly's going to roll out now. And he can't really get himself anywhere besides getting himself behind quad, but he is given enough time to reposition himself to find the shot onto Roka, and now everything falls to death. There's 30 seconds left. He's going to try to secure that bomb hole, and he finishes off Justin. And now it's just him versus Silent. And Silent with 12 HP has to be so cautious with how he approaches this. Thinking he's fallen back to the truck. Big mistake from him. And as he peeks out, Def has the shot lined up perfectly. And that's going to be 2 closeouts in a row now from Def to keep compLexity in this game. Now 7-15. They're basically at the halfway point here, but still a lot more work to do.
The first half, Clutch King Silent not able to win that one. They do a lot of damage with that round. They didn't get the bomb down, so that extra money not going to go into their pockets. They really could have benefited from that. Had they gotten the bomb plant, probably would have been a buy here. Instead, it's going to be a split force with Gabi going on body armor, CZ75, Justin, Tech 9 armor, Peter, the Deagle body armor, looking like they want to head towards the B site. It's been a while since we've seen them even go for a B execute. Seems like for the most part, NRG's been favoring towards mid and the A site, going for a lot of mid-A attacks. Roka in the B site alongside Fraud. Bombs still stacked up. And there you go, Peter. Great 1D in mid to take out Def, the man who was a nuisance in the last round, picking up that clutch. And the execute is on. They've rushed through the smoke on B main. And now Fraud really needs to clean up. Roka getting some headshots as well. But now it's just Roka in the B site.
There's Silent with a nice deagle shot on the Fraud, though, but keep in mind, Roka is here, and that's what's important right now. Gonna maneuver his way out, catches the headshot in the Got B. The cavalry has arrived, and Sanks is gonna clean up the final 2 kills there. Unfortunately for NRG, playing that too slowly, so giving too much time, and they're just not able to overwhelm Roka fast enough. So he's gonna keep himself alive, and compLexity survive another volley from the hands of NRG. But NRG also gonna be able to throw another buy round at us this time. So we'll see if they can try to close it out here once more, as compLexity just go right back into the hot seat.
I mean, I said the score was going to be 16-11.5. I thought in favor of complexity. I still could be right, just not in favor of complexity. NRG is struggling to get rounds on their T side. They're getting into sites, but they're failing at getting the bomb down a lot of times. They're not really doing so well in post plant either. They just haven't been able to get bomb site control that often. And when they have, the bombs have been dropped in no man's land, so they've never really been able to get the bomb plant. They've got 7 rounds down, and they haven't gotten the bomb planted more than 1 time in the rounds they lost. So that bonus money that they would love to rely on their T side, not funneling into their pockets. And it's a large part of the reason why they're struggling here. Every time they force up, they're right back to a potential eco because they're not getting that extra $800 that would benefit them so nicely in these buy rounds.
And NRG just taking it nice and slow in this round, looking for any mistakes they can fish out from the guys on complexity, hoping that they're finally going to decide to get a little bit aggressive and that they can punish that, but it doesn't really appear to be the case. With the exception of Def on the counter boost, watching out for there to be an A hit, it's not really any aggressive positioning from complexity at all. And in fact, what they're not accounting for right now is going to be that B hit. Because Roka's here, they're relying on him to hold it, and Fraud's actually already started moving off the site a little bit. He's hanging out in CT, getting ready for there to be an A hit, and also sort of outside of the factor if they do end up smoking themselves in here. Def finds that first kill on Justin, and they are going to be able to investigate, so they spot this hit coming just before it starts. Fraud finds a first pickup. Lagia trades on Aroka, but Fraud's still alive and well, and now Shinobi comes into this bomb site. He takes down Silent. It's all on Peter. Finds the first pickup, looking for a second on a Fraud, but the second shot's going to miss its connection. And complexity again keep themselves in this matchup, now just 6 rounds away from taking it into OT.
What is there to say? I mean, NRG just really can't get the entries they need. It's been pretty much rock solid holds. The few times they've gotten into the site, like we said, the bomb in that one round, it was a 2v1 with Def and Silent eventually ending up in the 1v1, but the bomb was just abandoned in the middle of nowhere. There's no way they could recover it. That seems to be like right now the cards are just falling in complexity's favor. The close rounds kind of just lean their way ever so slightly. They haven't necessarily been one-sided victories. A few rounds have been really solid, like the last 2, 9 and 8, have been great for complexity, keeping 3 players alive. And all these pistol buys coming in from NRG just really not working. They've got Deagle Armor, CZ75, Deagle Armor. I mean, they're just trying to get the full litany of pistols out, hoping that they can maybe get a bomb plant here, potentially play a retake, pick up a few rifles. But the way that Complexity's been playing thus far, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to crack open this site.
They're going to spot a push from Lagia back on Squeaky. Shinobi getting some damage, but actually more is traded off onto him as he's brought down to 70 HP. So, an interesting way to start it off, but still not really anything that Complexity can use to really call a rotation off of. Def is going to go for a peek in middle again, but getting punished for that once more. He does end up legging Peter, I believe, but not going to be enough to take him down. Brings him down to 18 HP. And the guys from NRG are still just taking this ever so slowly, despite the timer now getting lower. Down to 45 seconds here. Peter's still fishing for shots in middle. He's not going to find it, and he's the only one here, but he needs to make sure he gets control of it so that they have another angle to work with here, not just the push coming in from Squeaky and A-Main. There's Shinobi, shuts down the Squeaky push as Lagia has had no trouble at all revealing himself, but Fraud, again with that peek to come outside of Z, takes down Peter, and this is going to be a severely weakened push. Now Sanks, again playing from that quad position, gets 2 kills back-to-back, and Def, with the final frag, takes down Silent. And Complexity now in the double digits.
Statistically speaking, Fraud's performance may not necessarily jump out at anyone, sitting at 12, 3, and 18, but you've mentioned it a few times now, impact. He's had a huge impact on multiple rounds, kind of playing a risky peek in Z connector multiple rounds in a row, and it's allowed Complexity to just pick off that 1 or 2 person push from mid. Either they delay the second man, who's maybe a little bit further back, or it's only one player, and then it flattens the take. The rest of the team's coming in from A. Because again, NRG seems to favor the A site. They really haven't put much pressure on B, and I think maybe they're a little bit scared. The few times they've gone B, it's been Complexity who come out on top with a little bit more of a landslide in the round. And when they've gone A, at least they've gotten the bomb in the site. They just have struggled to either plant it or hold it. But either way, Complexity has now found themselves on 10 rounds, double digits. After a 14-1 start, they've now won 9 rounds on their CT side.
Also, should we mention that there's been a huge drop-off in Silent's performance? I think like his FPR has quartered in this half. We've had about 10 rounds so far, and my math might be wrong, but he's only managed to pick up 5 frags since this half started. So unfortunately, he hasn't been as on point as we were seeing him previously. And Fraud is going to pick up a first kill, and ironically enough, it's on to Silent once again. So NRG going for a push, despite them being a man down. It looks like they're ready to execute. They do manage to get much better mid control this time. Gobby's on highway and pushing forward, but the problem was is they actually weren't checking behind them previously. So out comes Shinobi. He actually isn't going to be able to take down God B. He gets around through E-Box, and there's no consideration to the fact that he's pushed all the way up here, but Peter just kills Dep anyway. Now God B has control of the truck angle, but he's going to have to come into party real quickly. Doesn't even see Shinobi coming up highway, so Shinobi finds a kill, and this entire take, it was looking so good for NRG, but it just fell to pieces. Now it's on Peter. He's going to be taken down by Shinobi, and compLexity now up to 11 rounds, continuing this conquest forward, and NRG once more cannot really buy here. They might have to save again.
So the players who cemented the CT side for NRG have become cement shoes for the T side of NRG. Like you had mentioned, Silent was at 29 kills at half. He's now got 5 kills in all of the 11 rounds that have played out in the second half. So he went from almost 2 FPR to less than 0.5 FPR. He's not finding his shot. Peter's had a few nice rounds, but it's mostly been a losing battle. They found themselves in a lot of 2vx or 1vx situations that compLexity can just play the bomb, play proper positioning, and punish NRG. And now you have to wonder, how is this playing in NRG's head? They started out 14-1, they picked up 1 round. Where is their mental state at? Like, where is the team starting to tilt towards? Are they still positive? Like, guys, we could still win this, let's bring this back? Or are things starting to boil over on their side? Are things starting to get a little bit testy and a little bit of frustration probably building up as well?
To give it an exact stat, Silent, apologies, not Peter, Silent has exactly quartered his FPR. He's sitting now at 0.5, as you were mentioning before, and his ADR, which was sitting, if I remember correctly, right around 170 as the half was ending, is now only at 60, so he's dropped 110 off of his ADR stat. So really dropping the ball there. The frag leader in this half for the guys on NRG has actually been Peter, who's had the most impact. He's sitting at 9 and 8, and ironically enough, despite Silent's drop-off, he's still the second best on the team in this half, with a 5 and 10 record.
And it feels like right now compLexity is sharing the load a little bit more, whereas on the CT side for NRG, it was like 1 or 2 players bailing them out most of the time. It seems like we're seeing more rounds with balanced fragging from the whole roster. Yeah, you know, Def and Fraud are sitting towards the bottom, but Shinobi, Sanks, and Roka are all towards the top and very close to one another. Top fragger is Sanks. He's only 7 kills above Roka, and Roka had a really rough first half. I think Roka only had like 7 kills across the entire first half, which is not a performance you would expect to see from him. So now NRG, obviously, I would assume this is a tactical pause here. I can't imagine it being much else. But the question is, where was this, 4 or 5 rounds ago? A lot of teams are a little bit late to pull the trigger on the tactical pauses.
I feel like they felt too secure in that. Yeah, it's only 1 more round, because how many rounds has this been in a row now for the guys on compLexity? It looks 1, 2, 3, 6 rounds in a row. So I'm guessing that this entire time they've sort of been thinking, yeah, we got up to the tie point at the very least, and we just needed 1 more to close out. But it's just now hit them. You're right. It's just now hit them. Like they finally realized that, okay, maybe we won't close out right here. Maybe this will go into overtime. So a pause is absolutely necessary, not just for the ability to re-strategize how exactly they want to take this T side, but also as a bit of a momentum breaker for compLexity too. We've actually seen quite a few teams sort of, I guess you could say, abusing it, but more utilizing it for the time being, as it's not necessarily frowned upon as of yet, where they sort of just take the pause and they'll take the maximum time allotted on the pause to sort of break the spirits of compLexity, because they're all hyped up in between rounds, and that can be carried from round to round, but there's a lengthy break in the play style, or in the play overall, and that can sort of break down a little bit there if you're just sitting around doing nothing for like 3 to 5 minutes.
It's similar to icing the kicker in football. So you get a kicker coming up to make a big clutch kick to win the game, and you call all of your timeouts in a row, and you try to keep him from being in a position where he feels confident, because the longer he has to sit and think about that, the harder it's going to be for him to escape that hole. I could miss this and we could lose. How many times though have we seen these tactical pauses work out so nicely, especially with a tactician like Gabi on the side of NRG? You have to wonder, what is the plan here? Are they fully utilizing this time to come up with something unique, or are they just kind of going over the mistakes they've made and the traps they've fallen into? I would love to think that the round after this is going to be very unique because it is a pistol armor here. So probably hoping to get the bomb plant and take some guns away from the CT side, but maybe not necessarily thinking this is going to be the round where we end it. It's the next round that has me curious. What is NRG going to do after this round?
And ironically enough, well, not really ironically, but again, this sort of, I guess you could call it a choke for NRG when they had such a huge lead coming off of the first half is happening on the T side. It's the same exact place where we saw all the issues popping up against Luminosity, and it's happening again here for compLexity. Despite them having a monster half, compLexity is somehow bringing this back off of some great performances from players like Sanks and Shinobi. Roka actually not so much, despite that huge pistol round victory. We haven't really been seeing anything super amazing of him since then.
Now, he's had 5 kills since the pistol round. So, again, Roka not really playing like Roka. I'm kind of curious to see what will happen in the next map. But here we go. The A-take is on as it appears. Molly's raining out towards quad box. That's going to force Sanks into a more aggressive position. The smoke and flash just keeping them blind for long enough to allow them to get into the site. So they do crack the armor. But how are they going to get this bomb down with the CT side already swarming?
How did the player on the site get out there without being punished? Because look, now they're just going to be ripped to shreds. Justin's the last one alive. He's only got 2 HP. Finds a kill onto Fraud, but now working a 1v2, and they're slowly surrounding him. Roka just gets on top of the E-box, shuts out Justin, and there you have it. Another one for compLexity. We did expect that, though, and there was some decent damage done to the CT economy at the very least. Now we see the investment coming in from NRG, and hopefully what this pause was for, what kind of a strat are they going to bring to the table now after this pause?
Still no bomb plant, though. So that's 2 times this entire half. Out of all of the rounds we've seen played out, 13 rounds, they've only gotten the bomb down twice. And, you know, you can talk all day about them getting kills and doing everything else, but if they're not getting the bomb down, they're not really forcing the hand at the CT side. And even in that position where it seemed like they should be able to get it with 3 players on the site, they just couldn't capitalize on the openings that they were given. And compLexity was there so quickly on the trade out. So now NRG's going to come into this a little bit weaker than they would have been had they gotten that extra $800. They do have plenty of utility, though. But like we said, this was the round we were kind of curious to see what's going to be different, what's going to change. And so far, I haven't really seen anything different or crazy from NRG. And based on Justin's position, it could be another A-take from NRG.
Shifting into it now, they do get some players ready to take mid control, much more directly this time. It's Legia moving in, has a bit of a smoke support, and he's actually, I like this change because they've actually been getting wrecked by these Z peaks every single round previously. They're going to have this guy hold back, but Peter misses that shot of Shinobi. It's a blind peek from Shinobi. Peter's not even flashed for that, and he completely misses it. They traded out quite nicely, though. Justin and Silent find 2 kills on their way into the site. Sanks has also gone down, which is very rare to see, too. He almost always finds a couple trades. He gets 1, but that's it. Baroka's going to get mollied, and he drops quite a bit of HP, too, down to 81. Fraud trying to find his way up highway, picks up a first kill, taking down Legia. He was kind of the player that was supposed to defend for this, so unfortunately he's failed at his job, and now the CT is starting to use a lot of their utility. Silent creeping up, though. This is the Silent we wanted to see back from the first half, but again, only a 1-for-1 trade. Justin trading it out. It's down to a 1 versus 1, but Roka, what the... I ran out of breath. Takes down Gabi and Justin, and oh my goodness, Roka pulls off an amazing clutch, and again, keeps compLexity in this match.
What just happened?
I literally ran out of breath.
That spray transfer. I mean, a little bit of luck and a lot of skill eventually gives compLexity a round that I thought NRG was finally going to use to close things out. I thought for sure that's it. NRG wins. But no, Roka has something to say about it, and it's all on the AK spray transfer. I can't believe that just happened.
So now NRG have just been absolutely stunned by that because they should have had full control of that round. Finally, things were going well. They don't get destroyed in middle, so it's not like their flank of highways killed early on, like has been a problem on these A-takes so often. Peter unfortunately messed up a little bit there to begin with, but they were able to trade that out 2 for 1. And also, Sanks, who's been that player in quad finding multiple kills all the time, only manages to get 1 that time. So it was all lined up perfectly, but unfortunately it fell apart at the hands of Roka. And just as we were talking about it too, Roka really not doing anything fantastic except for that pistol round. He pulls off that. And absolutely, again, it's just keeping compLexity in this match right now. 2 more rounds away from taking in an OT, but still NRG on that 15-round margin. 1 more away themselves from just closing it out entirely.
It looks like NRG's finally going to mix things up here and take the bomb towards mid. Looked like they wanted to go A main again. I don't know what it is with them in the A site, but they seem to like what they see there. Pop flash from Fraud right around the corner, not going to find anything. And now it's Roka who has to come up big yet again. And unfortunately, it doesn't come together here. It looks like another situation where NRG could likely close things out here as it comes down to a 2v5. And not even that much damage dealt to NRG. Silence is really the only one that's low. Gabi does need a bit of molly damage trying to get the bomb down. But it's just Shinobi here. in a 1v5. Can we see lightning strike twice? Can we see another clutch play from one of the players in complexity? Or is it going to be a 16-13 victory? And there you have it.
Finally putting an end to the madness, of course, but taking way longer than it should have. A valiant attempt at a comeback for complexity. And that was only the first map, guys. So NRG really needs to take a solid look at this T side between maps, because things were a little bit shaky, to say the least, there on their performances. But they do manage to close out the first map in their favor. We're going to be jumping over to Dust 2 for the second one, so be sure to stick around, guys. And we will be back with that second map as soon as possible, right here at the ESL Pro League.